The book we're reading today is called Paper Sun: Lee's Journey to America. It's written by Helen Foster James and Virginia Shin Moy Low, and it's illustrated by Wilson Ong. What's this? Lee thumbed through pages of Chinese words, telling another person's story. It's your coaching book. You must learn every detail. You'll be questioned in Gumsan. Po Po touched Lee's cheek. You'll leave for America in 3 weeks. Why can't I stay here with you and Gung? Lee had just celebrated his 12th birthday, but felt little and lost at the thought of leaving his grandparents. For those that don't know, Gumsan is the Cantonese way of saying San Francisco, and then Popo and Gung are Cantonese terms for your grandmother and your grandfather. Before your parents were killed by bandits, they bought you a paper sun slot from Uncle Fu. They spent all their money and borrowed the rest. Gung and I have been saving money to pay off the debt. How much did it cost? $100 for each of your years. That's too much money. Can we get it back? Lee knew they needed farm equipment and a new roof. He remembered nights he'd gone hungry, dreaming of steamed fish with brown sauce and long noodles with chicken and bok choy. This is better for your future. For our future. Look at the Chans. Chan Ho was sent to Gumsan. Now he sends money home every month, and they never worry about being hungry. But I don't want to go. In Gumsan, mountains are topped with gold, and streets are paved with silver. Our mountains are topped with wars, and our streets are paved with bandits. Gung and I are old and sick. This is no place for you. How will you work our land without me? We'll manage. You must go and make us proud. Lee didn't want to travel to the land of the flowery flag, but knew Popo was speaking the truth. I'll go to Gumsan and send money for food and medicine. I'll make you proud. Popo wiped away a tear. You've made me proud already. My name is Fu Li. My father, Fu Ming, is an American. I was born on... Lee studied his coaching book. He was no longer Wang Li. He was Fu Li, his teaming, his paper son name. He'd have a new family. He'd have to forget about Popo and Gung. Popo stopped your stitching. In your heart, you'll always belong to me. Lee memorized every detail about his paper family. The village temple faced southeast. Their clock sits to the right of the family portrait on the altar. And every night, Popo quizzed Lee. How many windows are in the Fu house? 3. No, there's 3 doors and 5 windows. Study more. Gumsan men ask your paper father the same questions. They compare answers. You must convince them you're Fu's real son. Otherwise we'll lose the money and I'll be deported. No need to think about that. You will make us proud. Lee traveled to Canton, where he boarded a train to Hong Kong. He marched the day in his mind. The year of the tiger, 1926, 4 days before the Lantern Festival. In Hong Kong, Lee boarded a large ship called the SS President Lincoln. He'd rather be on the farm, rubbing Popo's feet and listening to Gung's stories. His fingers traced the rim of his cap, feeling Popo's careful stitching. Lee spent his days on deck, away from the stale dampness of his quarters. Ugh. He spent nights dreaming of his true family, but details of Fu's village filled his mind. My name is Fu Li. My father, Fu Ming, is an American. I was born on... On the 21st day, a booming voice shouted, I see land! Gumsan! Lee remembered Popo's words. Don't trust anyone. Don't let anyone see your coaching book. If people saw it, they'd know he was a paper son. Lee dropped his coaching book into the chilly waters. There he goes, he's dropping his notes. In San Francisco, Lee and other Chinese were taken on a small boat to the Angel Island immigration station. Lee's sea legs felt like limp bamboo as he walked on the dock. Guards, Look Yi, barked orders. An interpreter repeated them in Chinese. Men to the right, girls to the left. The men and boys formed a line for medical exams. They took off their shirts. Lee felt ashamed. A man put a cold metal circle on his chest, and he poked and prodded. Lee noticed two men and a boy were sent to one side of the room. They were coughing, and he heard whispering, "They'll be returned to China." Such a shame. So he stood up tall, he looked strong, and the examiner nodded at Lee and pointed to the other side of the room with healthy people. Lee's heartbeat calmed. More orders were barked. "Follow me to your dormitory." They were led to the wooden house, the mukuk. Inside, metal beds were stacked, 3 tiers tall. The lowest bunk was Lee's. Everywhere a hand could reach, words were carved or written on the walls, telling stories of people who had been here before. Lee ran his hand over the Chinese characters, reading them aloud. "Imprisoned in this wooden building, I am always sad and bored." A head poked down from the bunk above and said in a familiar dialect, "Read more. Practice your reading." "Who are you?" "You can call me Tai." Lee read while Tai listened. "It's a pity for heroes to be contained. We can only wait," and bang! A guard placed a bar across the door. In the morning, the guard removed the bar. Everyone walked in a line to the dining hall. Hungry, Lee ate tasteless juk, rice porridge. In the yard, Lee recalled each fact in his coaching book, and he saw others sitting alone and wondered if they were doing the same. An older boy grabbed Lee's cap. "Here, catch this," he yelled to another boy. And Lee shouted, "Give it back! Give it back!" The boys laughed while Lee shuttled between them, begging for his cap, his only reminder of Paul in his real life. Lee fought back tears, trying to grab his cap. And Tai stepped between the boys, intercepting Lee's cap. "Take better care of your belongings." Before Lee could thank him, Tai was gone. Lee joined Tai on the bench and pointed to a newspaper. "You gonna read that?" "Practice. Read it to me." And Lee read to Tai. Tai asked, "Can I trust you?" Lee remembered Football's words, "Don't trust anyone." But Tai had helped him with those two mean boys. Lee nodded. Tai handed Lee an orange. Inside the orange peel was a note. "Where'd you get this?" Tai said, "My father paid some kitchen help to pass this to me. Can you read it?" Lee nodded and read the tiny Chinese characters. "Baby niece, born 2 months ago. Name is Moy." Tai bowed his head, repeating the words. "Baby niece, born 2 months ago. Name is Moy." Lee whispered, "Your paper son?" Tai's face changed. "Don't say that." "It's okay. So am I." "Be careful who you talk to. Don't trust anyone." Weeks later, Lee was called into the interrogation room. His stomach churned. One small mistake and he'd be sent back to China. The interrogator asked questions, and an interpreter repeated each question in Chinese. "What's your name?" "Fu Li." "What's your father's name?" "Fu Ming." "Where was he born?" "San Francisco, in Chinatown." "How many windows are in your house?" "Three. No, five." The men looked at each other, and Lee took a deep breath. "Three, five. What's your answer?" I'm sorry, I'm nervous. There's 3 doors, 5 windows." "Where's the rice bin?" "On the right side of the kitchen door." "Where do you sleep?" "In the bedroom I share with my cousin." They asked questions for hours. Lee grew tired, confused. His cap slipped from his nervous fingers, and the interpreter picked it up. He whispered, "Hide this. Don't bring it into this room again. Trust me." Lee took his cap and nodded, confused, as he remembered Popo and Tai's words not to trust anyone. The interrogators talked in hushed voices. Lee couldn't understand. He studied their faces. Finally, the interpreter spoke. "You may return to the dormitory." Questions consumed Lee's thoughts and tied up his stomach. Did I answer the questions right? Did I say anything wrong? A week later, a guard led Lee to the interrogation room again. The interrogator stared at Lee. Your father said the rice bin was to the left of the door, not the right. We moved it since he left China. Rain damaged the left side of the door. My father wouldn't have known that, Lee answered confidently, even though he wasn't. The interrogator asked one last question. Why do you want to live here? Lee was nervous. This wasn't one of the answers he'd studied. He decided to tell the truth. I want to make my family proud. There are more opportunities in America. 3 days later, the guard opened the dormitory's door and called, Fu Li. The interpreter was waiting for him. The interrogators liked your last answer. Good fortune to you, Income-san. And then he whispered, You remind me of my own little boy. Lee bowed to him and returned to the dormitory. Are you going to be landed? Tai asked. Yes, tomorrow. Why are you sad? People have been waiting months to leave this place. Lee wanted to tell Tai how a part of him wished he failed so he could return to China, to Wopo and Gung. I'm scared. I've never met my father. Trust me, you'll be fine, Tai smiled. I didn't want to come either, but now I need to stay. That night, Lee added their story to the wall. I didn't want to come, but now I need to stay. In the morning, Lee gathered his belongings. He felt his cap's rim and read Papa's tiny secret stitching. Trust your heart. Lee put on his cap and walked out of the woodhouse, and he was landed. In San Francisco, his new future greeted him. Lee welcomed his paper father just like Papa had taught him. Hello. My name is Fu Li. My father, Fu Ming, is an American, and so am I. And that's the end of Paper Son, Lee's journey to America. So, I promised that I would do a little bit of a presentation because this book isn't based off of a real story like some of the other books that we might have read, but it does have some historic references that I thought would be cool. So let me change my screen so you all can see it. Can you all see my new screen? All right, great. So the poem that they read, the first poem that they saw, is a real poem. So this is Island 45. Imprisoned in this wooden building, I'm always sad and bored. That's the line that Lee reads, and that's the first line of this real poem that you can see if you come to visit the island. And then the second poem that they read is, I believe it's based off of Island 135, which is detained in this wooden house for several tens of days. It is all because of the Mexican exclusion law that implicates me. It's a pity heroes have no way of exercising their prowess. So it's slightly different, but I believe that that's the real poem that he's reading here. And then, so what Tai gets is based off of a real thing that happens. So Tai got an orange that has a note inside of it. Here is a picture that we have of an orange that contained a note. There were other ways that members of the kitchen staff and other immigrants that were on Angel Island received coaching notes. This isn't the only way. Oftentimes it was mostly just like a regular sheet of paper. But I did think it was a really interesting thing that this was a real event that happened. And then this scene with the interrogators is based off of this real photo that we have of an interrogation that happened on Angel Island, which I thought was also a really interesting thing. So while Fu Li is not, as far as I can tell, a real person, his story is very similar to things that happened in real life, as well as you can see based off of real events that happened to real people. As Danielle said, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them now. If not, I hope you enjoyed the story and I hope that you come to some other events that we're doing. So again, we're doing hands-on history, so arts and crafts every month on the second Saturday. We'll also be doing story circles every Wednesday. And then we have a whole host of other kinds of events that we'll be at. So feel free to sign up for our newsletter and get clued into all of those because they'll be changing monthly. Yeah, thank you for coming.